Don't try to change people. Just build a bridge instead. Each of us can be a bridge to help people connect themselves to a part of themselves that is good. One time, a patient asked me, if a person has cancer, then they'll do everything in their power in order to get rid of that cancer. But people with addictions, how come they don't do everything in their power to get rid of that? She said it very innocently, but some people are way more judgmental. They'll say it was their choice to not get clean. It reminded me of an experience when I was in my early 20s. I had met this parole officer in my community. I didn't commit the crime, but he was helping a lot of people in the Vietnamese community in terms of immigration. One of my friends, who is a Canadian, went to the States, met a guy who had a green card, got pregnant, had a child, came back to Canada, and then when she returned to the States, she was stuck because they said, your child is an American citizen, but you are not. So, long story short, that's how I met the parole officer. Now, he had started up this social group where there are people who just came out of jail, and he was just getting them to hang out and support each other. He saw that I was a responsible person, so he said, hey, come, meet some of these people. One of the people that I met was this young man. He was around my age. He was born to a street worker, a prostitute. And she decided to have the child, but then put him up for adoption. Well, the very fact that his mother left him made him feel that he himself is unwanted, a piece of garbage. He went from foster home to foster home, and luckily they didn't mistreat him, but they didn't treat him well either. They just saw him as a paycheck. All of these things were welling inside of him, and so he wanted to just get rid of them. He did everything he could, kept himself busy to distract himself from the fact that he was not wanted. He joined a gang and got into a lot of fights because he had to release all that pent-up anger. And he began to take drugs to just numb himself and release himself from himself. Well, eventually he did some things that landed him in jail. And once he got out of jail, he met this parole officer and then met me. The parole officer asked me to be a bridge for him. When I first met this young man, he was a wreck. His teeth, his facial expressions, his mannerisms, what he said, you could tell that something was a little bit off, that his mind had been fried by drugs. And he was really paranoid that people were judging him. And he was right. Everybody who looked at him would automatically give him this strange stare and then avoid him. At this point, I was just a university student. I had no formal training in psychology, sociology, any of that. I was just studying microbiology and immunology. But I was open enough to spend time with this population. I took him to drop-in sports. I took him to lunch. I just hung out with him. Because I didn't have any formal training, I had no intent of helping him. All I could offer him was acceptance and dignity. I was a friend to him. So back to the question about cancer versus addiction. The parole officer was a very wise man, and he taught me that people tend to judge things as good or bad, and then they tend to go towards the good and avoid the bad. Well, people with cancer who are otherwise comfortable with their lives, they like most of who they are. And there's one part of them that they find is bad or evil. So they try everything they can to get rid of that so that they can become whole again. But some people, the moment they're born, sometimes think of all of themselves as evil. So they try to get rid of all of themselves. To them, the drugs aren't the problem. The drugs are the solution to getting rid of all of them. So here's this person who is trying to get rid of all of himself. And here's me in my naivety, just unconditionally accepting him and being there with him. And all of a sudden, he felt that he didn't need to get rid of all of himself. Now, I took him to job interviews, and at one point, he met an employer that was very empathetic. And he became productive. He started earning his own money. And I introduced him to other people who accepted him. And finally, he met a romantic partner that was able to accept him and care for him. That little part of him that was good, that he didn't need to get rid of, started to grow. And here we are, 2.5 decades later. He owns his own business. He has a wife and kid, and he travels the world. And it all started with someone in his life accepting him and not trying to change him. Each of us can be a bridge to help people connect themselves to a part of themselves that is good. We don't have to help them. We just need to recognize that beneath their exterior, they have the exact same dignity as everyone else.